What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Loud Spot. I'm your guest host today, producer Sam. Unfortunately, Sebastian, who's here, Sebastian, chime in. Nope, Sebastian's hiding in his bed. He's unfortunately sick today, so I will be taking care of all today's. So on today's show, we got the one, the only, Bruce Vilanch. Let's go.
The motherfucking Loud Spot!
And as always, we like to remind everybody, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click that like and subscribe, as well as that notification bell. And if you listen to us on an audio version, wherever you stream your podcasts, if there's a place for you to follow us. Bruce Vilanch is our guest today. Bruce, as we all know, and like I told Bruce, I said, I don't think we really need to go over the history and the pop culture, or as his shirt says, as seen on Dateline. You have been an actor, comedian, number one maestro of words, pretty much is what I would call it. Like, your biggest thing is that's right. And listen up to that. I tried to look for a blonde wig today, and it was so hard.
It's tough. They're in short supply.
That's right. I think they're all at your house.
COVID snapped them all up. Everybody wanted to be blonde and fabulous.
That's right. But if you guys don't know who Bruce Vilanch is, all I can say is do your history. He's everywhere. If he's been there, if there's been something in pop culture, Bruce has probably been on it. I don't know if you know this, Bruce, but you've made it so far as being on a Simpsons episode.
Guilty, yeah.
Guilty, and it's just a one-liner. It just says something about writing and Whoopi Goldberg or something like that.
It was. I think the mayor's making a speech, and he does a joke and it bombs, and he said, "Thanks, Bruce Vilanch," and throws it away. And then they cut to me in the audience wearing a Fred Flintstone T-shirt.
That's
and
right.
I say, Whoopi would have gotten a laugh.
Exactly. And then, of course,
you go to season 11, and they're like on season 342 now. I'm amazed when people remember it. But then, Simpsons fans are like rigorous. For years, I keep getting emails from people I grew up with saying, "Oh man, my kids think you're so cool now because you were on The Simpsons."
Yeah, that's right. They say
my grandkids think you were so cool because.
That's right. But you've also been on South Park as well. You've been referenced.
I've been on 3 times on South Park. I'm stunned and amazed.
3 times.
I was the coon.
That's right. You were the coon. well, let me play one real quick for you. I think this one's my favorite, and I think it's the funniest. And it really doesn't show you, but it's Cartman and all of them showing up. I guess they're trick or treating or something like that. And
that's my favorite too.
That's my favorite. Let's play this real quick.
Trick or treat! Trick or treat!
Oh, wow! Look, honey, it's Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Bruce Vilanch.
I'm not Bruce Vilanch!
Oh, what are you supposed to be? Oh, right, you're supposed to be that,
The Incredible...
Right, the Incredible Chaz Bono. Remember, honey, Dancing with the Stars, the fat transsexual?
Oh, cute! No, not Chaz Bono! Did you see my skin? I'm green!
The Incredible Harvey Firestein?
No, Harvey Firestein's just gay and fat, honey. He's not green.
The person I'm dressed at is not fat and not gay.
The incredibly fat and gay skinny straight man?
Just give us some fucking candy!
I think now, I don't know when. Yeah, when was that released?
That was outrage. I am not Bruce Vilanch.
That's right. Like, what? Why can't he be Bruce Vilanch? But when was that released? It was probably early 2000, definitely for sure.
I guess I would think. I'm trying to think of the references when Chaz was on Dancing with the Stars. It was probably right around then, because that was very current.
Yeah, and of course, South Park has a history of making fun of everyone equally.
I love it.
Yeah, I know, but I would say
I wanted to be in the closet with Tom Cruise.
That's right. That's right. So
you take what you get.
Let's dive in a little bit. You were born in New York. you find your way by way of Chicago. You Bette Midler you write an article for Bette Midler or about Bette Midler on her stand-up routine, her singing career in the nightclub.
Right. Her nightclub act.
She loves it. She's like, hey, I think you're great with words. Why don't you come write jokes for me? Or why don't you come write stuff in general for me? And you guys end up teaming up. And then some way you make your way out to Hollywood. And that's kind of where you stay.
Well, I got to Hollywood because an act that we helped start called the Manhattan Transfer, which was a nostalgia act back in the 70s, and now has become 50 years later, it's a world-class jazz act. And we put the show together, and we sold it as a television show. It was a summer replacement for Cher.
Oh, okay.
Way back. Way back. That was on the pilot of the Cher show. Anyway, so that got me out to Hollywood, and I just stayed. I'd always said if I always wanted to be here, and I thought I wouldn't go until I had a job and an agent. And I had a job and I had an agent, so I thought, okay, here I come. And I got in just at the tail end of variety television because cable killed it. Those big variety shows that we used to see, that you see now on Antenna and MeTV and Decades, the Carol Burnett show, the Dean Martin show, those were all on. Everything was killed by cable. So I picked a fine time to move to move to LA, but I eked my way through.
Now, of course, that landed more work for you, especially on the writing side of the house. You started, of course, you did a couple guest spots here and there. You did a couple movies. And, of course, Sebastian wants me to talk about the movie Ice Pirates.
The Ice Pirates. It's a work of rare genius.
But
and I'm writing about it because I'm writing a book now, and I'm actually on the Ice Pirates chapter.
Okay. Now, I noticed that Ice Pirates was released by the same company that released Spaceballs.
Not only that, but Spaceballs was shot on the Ice Pirates sets, some of them. We had Mel came onto the set, Mel Brooks came onto the set, and he said, gee, this is great. I could use all of this. And they redressed it. And it was on the famous Stage 30 at MGM, which was where The Wizard of Oz was shot. Not only was The Wizard of Oz shot there, but Esther Williams, a swimming star who made all these musical movies for Metro, they had a swimming pool and a tank, all of which were on that stage. So they could shoot underwater. It was, with portholes. So all of that, and you could redress and use all that stuff. I mean, it's still there. It's Sony now, and they shoot everything gets shot on that. It's like it's one of the most famous places in Hollywood, and I bet you can see it if you take a tour. So we had that, but this was like a picture that was never meant to happen. And the producer had a production deal on the lot at MGM. It was MGM then, and as luck would have it, they fired the guy who was the head of the studio, and they made the producer head of the studio. And so the first thing he did was greenlight our picture.
Got it.
So we got to make the Ice Pirates. During the course of the shoot, which was only 8 weeks, he was fired. A new head of production came in and said, you have to wrap the picture this week.
Got it.
It was supposed to be like a 13-week schedule. And of course, we had to wrap it after 8 weeks. But that's why we have the time warp. Why there's a device at the end because we had no time to shoot all those scenes.
Got it.
We just put everybody in a time warp and everything was sped up. And I came on as a writer. I came on to do a rewrite on it. And Paul Williams, little Paul Williams, the singer, was supposed to play Weird Wendon, the evil emperor, and he quit. And they said, you can play it. And so because he's gambled his body away, and he's a compulsive gambler, and all that's left is his head. And they keep putting his head on other bodies. So I said, well, I'm famous for my head, so why don't we just use that? And that's actually a line in the movie at some point,
Now that one was released in 1984, right? I think so.
I guess so. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and then Spaceballs was released in 1987. But I just get this gut feeling, and we know it happens all over in the entertainment industry, in the music industry. it almost feels like the Spaceballs feels like Ice Pirates, but more comedic.
Mel was basically doing a parody of Star Wars,
right?
Of the Star Wars movies. And everybody. I mean, so were we basically.
Right.
I mean, it was, and in fact, it was originally an action picture, but it would have cost so much money to do, and they brought in Stuart Raffle to direct it and rewrite it, and he made it more of a comedy. It wasn't supposed to be a comedy, and it still is somewhere in between, action. I mean, real sci-fi and comedy. I mean, that's I think why people like it, and it's become a cult thing because it's just so fucking weird.
Yeah, it definitely.
I mean, Spaceballs is a Mel Brooks movie. Spaceballs is Mel Brooks making fun of all of the Star Wars things. So. I mean, there's bound to be some overlap, but back then, Star Wars was very big in the zeitgeist because of the first three movies, and they were, I think, showing up on home video, and cable, so people were very aware of it. So there were a lot of Star Wars-ish things floating around.
Right. And you guys made that for $9 million. It says guys, the budget, and it only made $14 million within the box office and probably home. So we're hoping that it's probably more than that.
It was a half-assed hit. I remember that John Corman calling me on Monday after the first weekend and said, we have a half-assed hit. I mean, we did 5.5 the first weekend, which back then was pretty good.
Right.
And especially for a picture that didn't have, Bob Urich was our star, and he was a television actor. He wasn't really a movie star, so it was it was considered okay. And where Metro was in those days, I mean, that was like we had Gone to the Wind.
Oh, really?
They were in such deep shit that it didn't really, they thought, oh my God, we're a big hit, and a huge Ice Pirates poster went up in the studio,
right?
It's ridiculous. But it wound up doing okay in ancillary, what they call ancillary. One of the reasons is Ted Turner fell in love with it. He just thought it was the greatest thing, and he put it on all of his stations. He put it on TNT and TBS and Turner Classic, and it just was everywhere. And Angelica Houston, who had made one movie before this, and off of this picture got cast in Prizzi's Honor, and won the Oscars. Suddenly, it was like they said, Angelica Houston, we've had to show her movies. Well, she had 3, and this was one of them. And so this was one of them. And so it went on. It was on all the time. I can't begin to tell you. I mean, I would turn on TV and be, oh my God, there we are again. There I am with the space herpes.
The space herpes, that's right. Oh my God! So, and then after that, what you ended up, like I said, you ended up writing for the Oscars.
The Oscars, yeah, I did 25 of them.
Yep, 25 Oscars. You did it from early 1989.
I did it from 89 basically to I guess 2014, which is when I was not done with it officially, but the thing is, when you have a reputation for doing a show like that and it's been successful, people call you all the time and say help.
Right.
Because now they have, like this year's show, Jimmy Kimmel's writers are writing.
Oh, okay.
So and there's nothing left over in the budget. So there's one guy who is writing for a lot of stuff. And a lot of people who I know who are on the show who don't like their material will call and say, please help me with this, which is ironic because that was how I got into the thing at the beginning. That was on the show, and I'd write stuff for her and Shirley MacLaine, and so I was around the show, but I was never officially on it. And then I was officially on it and could not get off it.
That's right. Which is fine. I mean, you want that good sturdy gig.
It's like, I mean, for the kind of stuff I do, it's like being a football player and doing the Super Bowl every year. I mean, imagine if your team was in the Super Bowl every year, and for 25 years I was, and it's great. I mean, it's live television with ridiculous pressure, and it resonates. I mean, that slap last year will go on. It will live with Will Smith forever. And tonight, Chris Rock will do a whole number on it on his Netflix special. I don't know when we're being seen right now, but we are. It's Saturday, March 4th, and he's on Netflix tonight, and everyone's waiting to see what he does.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's because that's the effect the Oscar show has. It's So
I always wondered how a writer goes about, like I said, you've already have a history of writing for certain people and killing it as far as the the one-liners or the punchlines or whatever the case may be. How does someone go about getting a job like that, or keep getting phone calls back that, hey, we want you to write for us?
It's a lot of sleeping around. It's really, I just can't. Lizzo, stop calling me.
I'm telling you.
Do you have a brother?
Right.
Well, you get to know people. That's it.
Right.
I mean, when you start writing comedy, if you're not writing it for yourself, I always tell people, go to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, find somebody you like, and say, because what happens to them, to comedians, is they, at the beginning, nobody's interested in them, and they spend all their time writing material and trying it out. And once they hit, they're sucked into the star-making machinery, what Joni Mitchell called the star-making machinery.
Right. And
there's no time for them to write, and that's when they take on collaborators. I mean, Tiffany Haddish is a girl, suddenly explodes, and she doesn't have time to sit there anymore because she's very busy, doing Vanity Fair covers and Vogue modeling and all the things that one does when all these revenue streams and publicity things that happen. And that used to be their writing time. So that's when they kind of look around for collaborators who get them and who can write for them. And they have the money to buy stuff. So that's that. You have to do the work in the trenches. You go find them if you're starting out, and that's how you do it. And then once that happens, the word gets around and people start coming to you.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with Bruce Vilanch. And we're back with the actor, comedian, writer, and also songwriter.
You got it.
That's right. Bruce Vilanch. Bruce, I wanted to ask you, we're kind of jumping around a little bit and we didn't go in order. But if anyone wanted to look back, they can see the order in which kind of your career has taken, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. But I wanted
to be tidy.
That's right. We don't have to be, because we can edit it all and then put it in a timeline and it will look all great. But I wanted to, a lot of people may not know this, but you contributed to 2 songs.
More than that, but what songs do you mean?
I'm talking about the Village People, and I'm talking about Eartha Kitt.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I did an album with each of them, actually, but yes, because I got into that. I'd always wanted to be a lyric writer, but I just never connected. I was busy. But Jacques Morali was the guy who created the Village People, and I wrote the first draft of the immortal "Can't Stop the Music," which was a huge turd.
You should have wrote YMCA. You should have wrote YMCA.
I did their stage act, and we did a couple of albums. One a song called "Sex Over the Phone," which was #1 in the UK and was banned by the BBC, which is one of my favorite accomplishments, to be banned by the BBC. But I didn't write any of their big hits. But Eartha, kind of Jacques sort of brought back. She'd more or less retired, and he brought her back to do a song for a show in Paris at the Crazy Horse. The Crazy Horse was a topless revue with gorgeous Amazonian women with massive tits. And they would lip sync and famous people would sing songs and they would lip sync to them. And so he got Eartha to come in, and we wrote a song called "Where Is My Man?" Yeah. And I wrote the lyric to it. And this gorgeous girl did it in Paris, and Jacques got it released in Europe as a single, and it was a huge hit all over the world. Every place but the U.S., where they said Eartha Kitt, and also it was disco and ish, and you couldn't get airplay, but we had a lot of, we sold a lot of 12 inches, which is of course.
Wait, what are we talking about? Vinyl?
I like nothing more than the 12-inch.
That's right.
But DJs spun them at clubs. So if you went to any kind of club in the 80s, you heard "Where Is My Man," and we did an album off of it. Actually.
Yeah, and I admit, man, it's not my cup of tea, and I felt that any music from the 80s. Every time I go back and listen to a lot of the 80s music in general, I get a little cringy, because it's like, it's just because I was
music, all that was dance music.
But I'm more into the heavier stuff, the metal stuff, the rock stuff. So when I listen to the old disco and I listen to just outside of YMCA with the Village People, I just cringe and it's
they play that at ball games, right?
Right.
They play it like crowds do the wave.
Yeah,
YMCA, whatever that voguing that they do is.
But I listened to those and I was like, oh, I couldn't do this if I was a DJ, which I was at one time. So if I had to listen to that, I'd be like, I can't.
This was pre-electronica and
that's right,
pre-emo and all of the other stuff that they dance to now.
That's right.
I mean, they're always tweaking. Whenever I go to those places, everybody's tweaking, and I'm not tweaking. And please play Madonna. Please play.
Yeah, please. That's right. Now. You've pretty much kept your nose clean your whole entire career. I mean, I tried to look for some good controversy out there on you. The worst I could find was your assistant getting in trouble. That was it. Or
he's my troubled assistant.
Yeah, all I can say is that I was like, I guess you didn't pay him enough, so he had to go do some side hustle. Is that what happened?
I don't know. I mean, he was a drug bust, right? He was
drug bust for cocaine or something like that.
But I love the fact that the story was he was my assistant. I thought I'm that famous that you have a routine, and it was a setup anyway. I mean, he was
right.
He had stuff, but it was like somebody dropped a dime on him. So,
right.
But if that expression means anything anymore, because nobody
I don't think it does.
But they did. They blew the whistle. So, we were. The Ted Danson blackface was pretty serious at the time.
That's right. That's right.
That was at the time very controversial. And Whoopi, the first thing Whoopi said to me is, "You didn't do any of it. Don't claim any of it. Stay out of it. Don't get any of it on you." And she said, "I'm taking responsibility for the whole thing." And I said, okay, but if they later on, when they made a movie about me called Get Bruce, which was produced by Harvey Weinstein,
that's funny.
Never laid a hand on me.
Never.
Did you? Why not me?
Yeah, that's exactly.
I was there in the bathroom at the hotel ready, but
that's right. No, he didn't want you.
When they made the movie, there was a whole part of the movie was that, and people said, "Gee, I had no idea." They'd forgotten about it, so of course we unearthed it.
Right.
But,
and that was released in 1999. So if anyone out there, go check that out. It's a good documentary. I'm sure it doesn't have everything in there.
It's still very funny. Robin Williams and my mother are the big stars.
That's right.
Robin's brilliant, hilariously funny in it, and my mother's is a piece of work. My mother's she's very dry, but she's very funny.
And Bruce gets 100% royalties from it this whole entire time. So
I get as much from that as I get from Naked Boys Singing, which is a stage musical that I co-wrote with 14 other people. I mean, literally. So we've had 84 productions on. I've made $1.98.
Got it. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but in 2020, they said your net worth is worth $8 million. So just to let you know, that's what the internet is claiming.
That's what my net is worth. I mean, the rest of, I've got the whole rest, the flying rig from the trapeze. The net alone is worth $8 million.
That's right. That's right.
The trapeze, God knows what I'd get for that.
That's right. So, you release in 1999. You release Get Bruce, and of course, you're still right there. You're on Hollywood Squares. I wanted to talk about Hollywood Squares because that was a big chunk of, I think, where people really recognized you, and that's where you really got to, I guess, quote unquote, shine.
I was behind the scenes, until Squares, and then I was on television every night. To the left of Whoopi, if that's possible.
And one of my favorite ones was in an episode of The Nanny is you and Whoopi go back and forth in a reference to Bruce.
Yes.
I wish I was on top of Whoopi, and she says, "Well, if you were Brad Pitt, then you would be." So something along those lines.
I think I was wearing a shirt saying "Not Brad Pitt."
Yeah, not Brad Pitt. That's right.
That was Mr. Sheffield goes on Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, and
the Nanny chases him.
Yeah. So, but were you always pretty much in the left center or in the center? Is that pretty much, did you guys get to pick?
I always was to the left of Whoopi, and it was intentional. They thought that I would sort of tame her. They were a little scared. And so they put me up there next to her, and because she thought I should host the show. So they decided she was out of her mind, and they tested me anyway. And this is for the win, Louise. But I get it. And Bergeron was, Tom was the host. But they put me there. So first, because they thought that I could tame her, and they didn't realize that she is really a gay Jewish guy, and I'm really a black woman. So we had this rapport, and they kept me up there because we had this joking thing, and we were like the two mainstay, the two vets, but she was the center square. She's the star. The center square in tic-tac-toe you have to go to get a win or a block. So they get called on more, and that's why the center square is the star of the show. So, but I was always in the same spot. We would move other people around because you never knew how the game would go. And if you were like up left or down in the corner, you wouldn't get called on as much. So they would rotate positions because the likelihood of you getting called on. Is this interesting to anybody?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's just this is the logic of Hollywood Squares, but it's like tic-tac-toe. I mean, but the idea was there were people in the squares, and so you had to service the people you brought in to perform. Right. Now that I had written for, I am the staff. I had a writing staff.
I was going to say, did you guys write?
We had to give people bluffs, the answers that sounded like they could be the right answer but weren't.
Right.
And but we couldn't give anybody the real answers. So, but we gave them jokes. If we thought they could handle a joke on something, we gave it to them, and it balanced out. And some of the funniest stuff was people who we didn't expect would be funny at all.
Right. Right.
Like
now, I was gonna say,
he's really funny.
Was there any
he's a country singer?
Yeah, was there any bloopers out there that people could probably find?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I've never seen a blooper reel.
I haven't either. I was looking for one.
Maybe they didn't do one. I mean, the rights thing is it was owned. A lot of people owned the show, and Sony had a piece of it. And part of their deal was they had the exclusive rerun rights for the Game Show Network. And I don't know if that included a blooper reel or not. That's a very good question.
Yeah, because if any
one famous one that's not blooper but it's real, with Gilbert Gottfried and Penn and Teller, which is what a woman keeps landing on Gilbert to win, and she misses every time, and Gilbert said, "You fool!" every time that she doesn't believe him. You fool! And finally, Penn Jillette starts talking, and it's a chorus of people, and it's on YouTube. And people keep saying, "Oh, that thing is so funny." That Gilbert got when Gilbert passed, it got a tremendous amount of hits because people remembered it.
Right.
And how can you forget Gilbert? I mean, my God.
No.
And he was regular on the show.
And there's been a lot of passing. A lot of your friends, Betty White, Gilbert Godfrey. Man, you're just connected to literally everyone in Hollywood.
Yeah. I knew and know a lot of people. That's happened. When you've been here a long time and you've worked a lot on the kind of shows I work on, all those award shows have 30, 40 different stars and personalities on them. And I worked with them all, now I know them all.
Right. Now, what are you currently working on? What is the day in the life of Bruce?
Well, I had an idea during COVID, and with a friend of mine who's a director and his wife, and they it's a musical, and it's about a guy, a 40-year-old gay comic who's never happened, who's working at Caroline's in New York, and the pandemic hits, the club closes, and he has to quarantine in the attic of his parents' home in Longview, Texas, where he has an intimate relationship with his imaginary friend, Dolly Parton.
Got it.
She comes off a poster on the wall, and it's 2 people and 5 musicians. And we called it Here You Come Again. It sounds like a porno, but isn't. Here You Come Again, How Dolly Saved My Life in 12 Easy Songs. And we got a grant, a PPP grant, from one of the arts theaters, because the government was giving them grants so that, because the revenue stream dried up, no audiences, so they didn't want to fire people, so they would give them money, and part of the money they gave them had to go to developing new work. So we got one of those new work grants, and we wrote it, and they loved it. And so I had to go to Dolly, who I worked with off and on over the years, and pitch her this idea, thinking, this is not her idea, she won't do it. She loved it. She's now my partner. So we've done 4 regional productions of it. We did it in Delaware and Dallas and Palm Beach and Pittsburgh. And now May 17th, we will unveil it in Nashville at Studio 10, TE as in Tennessee, Studio 10.
Yep.
And Dolly, will be around, and hopefully we'll give it the papal blessing, so that we can get a national kind of rollout on it and get more of it.
And don't forget to go down to Dollywood. I mean, it's right there. Since you're in Nashville.
One of the things I did with Dolly in the 80s was open Dollywood.
Really?
There was a big Sunday night television show called Dolly! And it was a huge bomb. Just didn't work. And I was brought in as the rescue squad to come and fix it. And the way we fixed it was we took it out of the Carol Burnett sort of world, and we had every week was a special. And one of the specials we did was opening Dollywood, which at the time I used to say to people, it's the best half day you'll ever have.
Right.
There was nothing there. There were clock dancers were the big thing. There were no rides.
Right.
It's a weird kind of strange sort of theme park with a lot of exhibits and things, and strange kind of county fair sort of stuff, but all with a Dolly tinge. And she had done it because there was a big country singer named Conway Twitty. He was an early rock and roll singer, and he had a place in Nashville called Twitty City. And Twitty City was basically a place for him to sell his merch.
Right.
But people went because there were exhibits and stuff. So she kind of modeled it on that. But of course, being Dolly, it became bigger and bigger. And now it's a destination resort. You can buy a timeshare condo. There are roller coasters. I mean,
it's Pigeon Forge. So, I mean,
Pigeon Forge. Pigeon Forge is beautiful in the Smoky Mountains.
And I love what Dolly's done within Tennessee and her generosity with the people, especially after the fires and everything like that. So now what about stand-up? Are you doing any stand-up lately, or are you getting out there in the clubs?
I call it sit down. Okay. I tell stories. I do a few dates here and there. I mean, I was never a club comic, I would come in. I love doing corporate dates, and they've come back. I go I do the diversity luncheon for some big company, and I get to make fun of all of their bosses, which they love, and then I tell stories about the Oscars and things like this. But they're more performance type of stories.
What about doing some more? You used to do. I think you were the old school roaster, like you used to do roast and stuff like that, and especially on certain people if they had you.
Well, the Whoopi was the most famous one, but roasts, they were no holds barred, and then they went commercial on Comedy Central,
right? And
so they became rather clean. I mean, back in the old days, Dean Martin did them, and they had Lucille Ball and Rickles, and they were funny, but they were clean. And, the Friars Club was traditionally filthy, so the roasts I haven't been on them, but I've written for some of them.
Okay.
They have some really funny stuff, but the whole idea of roasting is kind of like, just, I don't know. It never sat well on me. Because
now,
it was funny when it was like a bunch of comics doing another comic, and, because they do that all the time, right? In conversation. So that was funny. And the fact that you could just do the most outrageous jokes that you couldn't do anyplace else. So, But to go on Comedy Central to make jokes about Pamela Anderson, I mean,
That's pretty easy.
it's pretty easy, and it's like,
right. But she's a nice lady, so on top of that,
she's nice. She's not worth your contempt. She's
right.
Not, she knows what she's doing, and so it's like, pile on.
Now, in Get Bruce, you have a little stand-up bit that's in there that I think is probably the funniest, and because it's definitely all about the wording. I notice a lot of your humor. People, they don't have to really look into it, but if they just would pay the attention to the vocabulary in general, they'll get the joke. It's not maybe a slapstick kind of a joke, but you talk about the sadist.
I have a joke. I call it the cat joke, and it's not in that movie, but it's on YouTube. It's video. Somebody did it on YouTube. I don't think it's in that.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was in. It's in Get Bruce, like we saw it in a trailer.
It might be. I mean, that means I've been doing it longer than I thought. But I said when it showed up on YouTube, I said, "Well, I can't do this anymore because it's on YouTube." And in fact, I can't do it now because I have to remember it, and I don't want to fuck it up. So it's called the cat joke. And what I realized was, I would go places, and they would shout out, "Do the cat joke!"
Yeah,
it was the cat joke. And I said to Bette, "Now I know what it's like when they say, 'Sing the Rose,' because whenever we put a show together for her, and I've been doing it for 50 years, we have to do The Rose, Wind Beneath My Wings, From a Distance, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, Do You Want to Dance? Those 5 songs have to be in the show.
Right.
Because that's what they want. And I thought, oh my God, I have a hit. The cat joke is like I have a hit single. Take that, Taylor Swift. I have a hit.
What is one of your biggest jokes that you like? That maybe people
that I've been doing now that actually, I wrote all these Sophie Tucker jokes.
Right.
And some of them were actually Sophie Tucker, but she was, and then none of them have any dirty language in them, but they're all, dirty jokes about sex. And I have one that Bette did years ago, and I was thinking about it because it's a very woke joke. It's extremely woke. And so I started doing it, and I said, this is so woke, I could just do it anywhere. So I will do it for you now, if you like, because it has those 2 qualities.
That's right.
It's Sophie always said, "I will never forget it. My girlfriend Clementine is always fixing me up with exotic young men. Other day, she rang me up. She said, 'Soph, you won't believe what I'm sending over this time.' 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I looked out on my front stoop. There was a young man with no arms and no legs. I said, 'What the hell do you think you're going to do?' He said, 'I rang the bell, didn't I?'"
Well,
that's
Bruce,
so woke. I mean, it's like it's not ableist. It's like this guy figured it out. It's body positive. That's right. I could sell it to Lizzo. It's body positive.
That's right. So Lizzo, if you're watching, which I really doubt if you are, you're way too, and she's too busy to even watch this stuff. But Bruce, we want to appreciate you stopping by today. Any books in the works? I know you've already written
the book right now. In fact, I am the Ice Pirates chapter as we speak.
That's right.
And it comes off of these podcasts because I've done a bunch of podcasts, and people your age are always they're interested. They talk about the crap I wrote in the 70s, specifically the Star Wars Holiday Special, the Paul Lynde Halloween Special, the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. And these are like some of the worst shows in television. And so that's the book is about how I got to do all that and survived. And it's called It Seemed Like a Bad Idea at the Time.
Right. And is there an expected time frame that this is going to be
out next year before the Oscars?
Got it. Okay.
Like after, early 24.
Early 24?
Early 24.
And then if you guys check them out, where can they find, what's your website?
The best thing is wegotbruce.com.
That's right. We got Bruce.
It's run by a fan in Florida who knows more than I do. I check in to see what I'm up to.
Is that how it works?
No shit, I have to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Again, Bruce, thank you for stopping by. Guys, don't forget to go check out his website and also our website, www.theloudspot.net. And of course, as Sebastian always says, peace out, rock on, and much love.
This is the Loud Spot outro by nothing short of tragic.
Is this all talk with no action? No. Is this my thoughts with distraction? No. Is this what I bought that's in fashion? Or is this the Loud Spot with Sebastian? Yes. Does nothing short of tragic have us back again? Yes. Does everything that's good really have to end? Yes. Our pimp host has to pimp show, so to get more episodes, make an order, this is over.